Tales by Ebi. The Wealth of Shadows, Part 2. The journey from Lagos to the ancient city of Ibadan was filled with tension. Nnamdi and Adaora sat in the backseat of a black SUV, the cityscape of Lagos fading into the distance as they drove toward the place where they hoped to find answers. The air was thick with unspoken fears and the weight of the unknown. Nnamdi's mind was a whirl of thoughts, regret, fear, and the desperate hope that they might find a way to end the curse that bound him to the serpent. Adaora, sensing Nnamdi's turmoil, reached over and took his hand. Her touch was warm, comforting, a reminder that he wasn't alone in this fight. She had revealed herself as a daughter of the gods, a being of immense power, and yet she remained by his side, determined to help him break free. "We'll find a way, Nnamdi," she said softly, her voice carrying a strength that made him believe in the possibility of salvation. Their destination was an old shrine located deep in the forests outside Ibadan, a place said to be one of the last strongholds of ancient knowledge. The shrine was guarded by an elderly priestess named Aya, who was rumored to possess wisdom that stretched beyond the realms of the living. If anyone could help them, it would be her. The sun was beginning to set as they arrived at the edge of the forest. The trees loomed tall and ancient, their branches intertwining like a web of secrets. The driver, a man loyal to Nnamdi, hesitated as they prepared to enter the forest. "Are you sure about this, sir?" the driver asked, his voice tinged with fear. Nnamdi nodded, trying to hide his own apprehension. "Wait for us here. We won't be long." With a final glance at the driver, Nnamdi and Adaora stepped into the forest, the path ahead barely visible in the dimming light. The air grew cooler, and the sounds of the city faded, replaced by the whispers of the trees and the rustling of unseen creatures. As they walked deeper into the forest, the path became narrower, overgrown with vines and thorns. The atmosphere grew heavy, as if the forest itself was alive, watching them, judging them. But Adaora's presence was a shield, her divine aura keeping the darkness at bay. Finally, they reached a clearing where the shrine stood. It was a simple structure, made of weathered stones and ancient carvings, but it radiated a sense of power that was undeniable. At the entrance stood Aya, a small, frail-looking woman with skin as dark as the night and eyes that glowed with a light of their own. She wore a robe of deep blue, adorned with symbols that Nnamdi couldn't decipher, and carried a staff topped with a crystal that shimmered in the fading light. "I have been expecting you," Aya said, her voice surprisingly strong for someone of her age. Nnamdi and Adaora exchanged glances. "You know why we're here?" Adaora asked, stepping forward. Aya nodded, her eyes never leaving Nnamdi. "The serpent's mark is upon you. I can feel its presence, the darkness that clings to your soul. You seek to break the covenant." Nnamdi swallowed hard. "Yes. I made a terrible mistake. I need to end this." The priestess tilted her head, her gaze piercing as if she could see into the very depths of his soul. "Breaking a covenant with the underworld is no simple task. It requires a great sacrifice, one that may cost you more than you are willing to give." Nnamdi's heart sank at her words. He had been prepared for difficulty, but the thought of more sacrifice terrified him. He had already lost so much: his peace, his freedom, and now, possibly, his life. "But there is a way," Adaora pressed, her determination unshaken. Aya turned to Adaora, her eyes softening slightly. "You, daughter of the gods, have a role to play in this as well. The bond between Nnamdi and the serpent is strong, forged in blood and shadow. To break it, you must enter the spirit realm, where the serpent's true power lies." "The spirit realm?" Nnamdi repeated, a shiver running down his spine. The spirit realm was a place of danger, a world where the living had no control, where the rules of the physical world no longer applied. "Yes," Aya confirmed. "In the spirit realm, the serpent is at its most powerful, but it is also where it is most vulnerable. There, you must confront it, sever the bond that ties you together, and reclaim your soul." Nnamdi's mind raced. The idea of entering the spirit realm, of facing the serpent in its true form, was terrifying. But what choice did he have? If he did nothing, the serpent would eventually destroy him, and possibly Adaora as well. "What do we need to do?" Adaora asked, her voice steady. Aya led them into the shrine, where a small altar stood at the center, surrounded by candles that flickered with a strange, otherworldly light. The walls were covered in symbols and inscriptions, each one a piece of the ancient magic that filled the air. You must perform a ritual, the priestess explained, placing a bowl filled with herbs and oils on the altar. This will open the gateway to the spirit realm. But be warned, the journey is perilous. The spirit realm is a place of shadows and deception. The serpent will do everything in its power to prevent you from severing the bond. Nnamdi took a deep breath, trying to steady his nerves. He had faced challenges before, but this was different. This was a battle for his very soul. He looked at Adaora, drawing strength from her unwavering determination. She had risked everything to help him, and now they were about to face the greatest challenge of all. Aya Age began the ritual, chanting in a language that Nnamdi did not understand. The air in the shrine grew thick with energy, the walls seemed to close in, and the light from the candles flickered wildly. The herbs and oils in the bowl ignited, sending up a column of smoke that swirled around them, wrapping them in a cocoon of power. Nnamdi felt a pull, a tug at his very being, as the gateway to the spirit realm began to open. The world around them blurred, the physical world fading away as they were drawn into the shadows. He reached out and grabbed Adaora's hand, holding on to the one solid thing in this shifting, uncertain reality. The transition was swift and disorienting. One moment, they were in the shrine, and the next, they were standing in a world of darkness and mist. The spirit realm was a place of strange beauty and terrifying danger. The ground beneath their feet was solid, but the air was thick with an oppressive energy. The sky above was a swirling mass of clouds and shadows, and in the distance, shapes moved, creatures of the spirit world, watching them with glowing eyes. "We're here," Adaora said, her voice a whisper in the silence. "Stay close to me, Nnamdi. This is where the serpent is strongest." They moved cautiously through the mist, the landscape shifting and changing around them. The spirit realm was a place where nothing was as it seemed, where reality was fluid, and the line between friend and foe was blurred. As they ventured deeper, the presence of the serpent grew stronger. Nnamdi could feel it, a coldness that seeped into his bones, a darkness that whispered to him, trying to lure him into despair. The bond between them was palpable, a chain that bound his soul to the creature lurking in the shadows. Suddenly, the mist parted, revealing a vast, shadowy plain. At the center of the plain stood the serpent, its true form revealed in all its terrifying glory. It was massive, its body coiled and ready to strike, its scales glinting like black diamonds. Its eyes, glowing with a malevolent light, locked onto Nnamdi and Adaora as they approached. "You dare to challenge me here, in my domain," the serpent hissed, its voice echoing across the plain. "You are nothing but a foolish mortal, bound to me by your own greed." Nnamdi's heart pounded in his chest, but he stood his ground, Adaora's hand still in his. "I made a mistake," he said, his voice trembling but resolute. "But I won't let you control my life any longer. I'm here to end this." The serpent laughed, a sound that sent chills down Nnamdi's spine. "End this? You are bound to me, body and soul. There is no escape." Adaora stepped forward, her divine energy flaring as she confronted the serpent. "You have no power here that we cannot challenge. The bond may be strong, but it is not unbreakable." The serpent's eyes narrowed, its body tensing as it prepared to strike. "You think your divine blood can save him? You are as foolish as he is." Before the serpent could attack, Adaora raised her hand, summoning a shield of light that enveloped them both. The serpent struck, its fangs clashing against the shield, but it recoiled in pain, hissing in fury. Nnamdi, seeing the serpent momentarily weakened, knew this was his chance. The bond that tied him to the creature was like a chain around his soul, and he could feel it, tangible and real, here in the spirit realm. He closed his eyes, focusing all his will on that bond, imagining it breaking, shattering into 1,000 pieces. The serpent, sensing what he was doing, roared in anger. "No. You cannot break what has been forged in blood." But Nnamdi did not stop. He poured all his strength, all his regret, all his determination into that bond, willing it to break, to set him free. The ground beneath them shook, the very fabric of the spirit realm quaking under the force of his will. The bond began to fray, the chain unraveling as Nnamdi's soul fought for freedom. The serpent writhed in pain, its body thrashing as the connection between them weakened. But just as the bond was about to break, the serpent unleashed a final, desperate attack. It lashed out with its tail, striking Nnamdi and sending him flying across the plain. Adaora cried out, her shield faltering as she rushed to his side. The serpent, weakened but not defeated, slithered closer, its eyes burning with rage. You may have weakened the bond, but you have not won. This is far from over. As Nnamdi struggled to his feet, blood trickling from his mouth, he knew the serpent was right. The bond had been weakened, but it was not broken. The battle was far from over, and the cost of victory would be higher than he had ever imagined. Adaora helped him stand, her eyes filled with worry. Are you all right? Nnamdi nodded, though his body ached from the serpent's attack. I'm fine. But we need to finish this. Adaora looked at the serpent, now circling them, its movements slow but deadly. We will. But not here. We need to return to the physical world. There is one final step we must take, one last ritual that will break the bond completely. Nnamdi nodded, trusting her completely. Together, they focused on the gateway that would take them back to the shrine, back to the world of the living. The spirit realm began to fade, the shadows receding as they were drawn back into the light. As they returned to the shrine, they found Aya waiting, her expression grave. The bond is weakened, but it is not yet broken. The final ritual will require the greatest sacrifice of all. Nnamdi's heart sank at her words. He had come so far, fought so hard, and now he was faced with the ultimate price. But he knew there was no other way. The serpent's grip on his soul had to be severed, no matter the cost. What must I do? He asked, his voice steady, though his heart was heavy. Aya looked at him with sad eyes. You must give up the very thing that binds you to the serpent, the wealth, the power, everything that you gained from the covenant. You must willingly return to the life you once knew, a life of simplicity and humility. Only then will the bond be broken, and your soul be free. Nnamdi felt the weight of her words settle on him like a stone. He had dreamed of wealth for so long, fought for it, sacrificed for it. But now, faced with the true cost, he knew what he had to do. I will do it, he said, his voice filled with resolve. I will give it all up. Aya nodded, her expression approving. Then the final ritual will be performed tonight, under the light of the full moon. Prepare yourself, Nnamdi. This will be the most difficult challenge you have ever faced. As the night fell, and the full moon rose high in the sky, Nnamdi and Adaora prepared for the final ritual. The air was thick with tension, the weight of the moment pressing down on them. The serpent, though weakened, was still a threat, and the final battle for Nnamdi's soul was about to begin. But as they stood together in the shrine, ready to face whatever came next, Nnamdi knew that he was no longer the man he had once been. The wealth, the power, the ambition, they were all meaningless now. What mattered was his soul, his freedom, and the love that had guided him through this dark journey. The ritual began, the chants of Aya filling the night air, the flames of the candles dancing in the wind. Nnamdi closed his eyes, ready to face the final test, ready to give up everything for the chance to be free. But as the ritual reached its climax, the serpent struck one last time, its fury unleashed in a final, desperate attack. The shrine shook, the flames flickered, and Nnamdi felt the darkness closing in. And then, everything went black. To be continued.